Good morning. My name is Emily Koski. I'm the chair of the Budget Committee. I'm going to call to order our regular committee meeting for Thursday, November 30th. At this time, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll to verify the presence of a quorum. And I'm sorry, I'm rushing you.
Councilmember Payne.
Present.
Wansley is absent. Rainville.
Present.
Vita.
Present.
Ellison.
Here.
Osman.
Here.
Goodman.
Present.
Jenkins is absent. Chavez. Present. Chugtai is absent. Chowdhury.
Present.
Palmisano.
Present.
Chair Koski.
Thank you.
Present.
There are 10 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. We have 2 items on today's agenda. The bulk of our discussion will be on proposed amendments to the mayor's 2024 recommended budget. But we'll first begin with item number 1, which is related to the compensation of council members for the 2024-2025 term. I believe, and yes, here he is, City Clerk Casey Carl will introduce this presentation. Welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair. May it please the committee, I'm here to present a resolution that addresses compensation to be paid to council members in the next elective term, which begins January 1st, 2024, and will continue through January 5th of 2026. This presentation is in response to a previous council directive, as well as a process that was dictated by the council, which I'll explain as part of my presentation. So as indicated in the briefing materials that were included in your agenda packets, the subject of compensation for elected municipal officials is the responsibility of each jurisdiction's governing body that's provided under Minnesota Session Laws of 1971. That law provides that compensation is to be set by the governing body in the final year of one elective term to become effective in the next succeeding term. That law also stipulates that no change can be made in the level of compensation during a term, neither to increase or to decrease it. Under state law, no modification of compensation for elected officials can be made during any elected term. And under section 14.60 of the city's Code of Ordinances, compensation is to be set by resolution, and it must be considered by the council's committee that has oversight of the city budget prior to any final formal action by the full council as part of its work to adopt the operating budget. So those are the legal parameters that apply to both mayor and council members. In 2021, at the conclusion of the last elected term, the council approved an increase of 2% for the mayor and city council members to take effect in the next term, the term that we're in now. For the mayor, that term will run from 2022 through 2025. For council members, that term is 2022 through 2023. And as you are aware, a new 2-year term for council will begin January 1st, covering 2024 and 2025. Thus, today's presentation focuses exclusively on the 13 council members who will have a new term next year. It does not include the mayor, who is in the middle of a standard 4-year term. At that same time, the council directed staff to undertake an analysis of compensation for elected officials in selected peer jurisdictions, given the voter-approved change in the city's underlying governance structure. So today's presentation is therefore a response to that prior directive, and it presents the analysis of those select peer jurisdictions with respect to compensation paid to members of city councils in those comparable cities. The city, through its Human Resources Department, contracted with an outside agency, Guidehouse, to complete this analysis of elected official compensation in our peer jurisdictions. Guidehouse identified a total of 16 potential comparable cities and received response rates from 12 of those 16 cities, achieving a 75% response rate. Those jurisdictions that were included in the final results, which are shown here, include Atlanta, Boston, Columbus, Denver, Milwaukee, Omaha, Pittsburgh, Seattle, and Tampa. Responses were not received from Baltimore, Detroit, Kansas City, or San Diego. All of these cities, however, share the following attributes, which is why they were selected. All of these cities operate with an elected mayor who is the city's chief executive officer. All of these cities have a full-time council, which serves as the city's legislative body. And all of these cities have a population similar to Minneapolis, meaning it's a jurisdiction with a similar gross domestic product, a growing population, or one that has been identified as a greater Minneapolis-St. Paul partnership peer city. I will note that the city of St. Paul was also included in this survey because of its proximity to Minneapolis, despite the fact that the St. Paul City Council, unlike the Minneapolis City Council, serves in a part-time capacity. This slide attempts to identify those common attributes shared amongst the selected peer cities, including a map showing the location of each of those jurisdictions. In the next two slides, I'll present the survey data in two ways. First, through a visual chart that tracks compensation for each jurisdiction across that jurisdiction's population. And then in the second chart, we present the same data in a tabular format. So as this slide visually depicts compensation for councils in our peer cities, the raw data here has been adjusted, and this is an important point, using the Economic Research Institute's geographic assessor in order to provide an apples-to-apples comparison between the jurisdictions. The Economic Research Institute compiles one of the most robust salary, cost of living, and compensation market analyses that are available.
Sorry, real quick, my apologies to... Thank you. I just wanted to clarify to my colleagues, they're having technical difficulties today, and that's why we do not have the presentation up on the monitors. And so we only have this today to do.
Madam Chair, thank you. I did send an email right before this meeting to let you know the feedback monitors are having technical issues. This presentation is included in the LIMS file, and perhaps the clerk could send a link to that. Until that technical issue is fixed, we won't have the feedback monitors.
Thank you.
But this presentation was included in your agenda packet. So as I was saying, the Economic Research Institute has one of the most robust salary, cost of living, compensation market analysis that's available. It covers more than 1,000 different industry sectors. The Geographic Assessor application is a web-based tool that analyzes labor costs between locations and equalizes those labor costs against selected local economic conditions. Thus, these survey data have been equalized against the Minneapolis local economy. The slide shows that Minneapolis council members are paid at the top of the scale for all of the peer cities. In Minneapolis in 2023, council members are paid a salary of $109,846. The only city providing higher compensation for its council members is the city of Seattle at $124,444 per year. The lowest compensation paid amongst the select cities is the city of Omaha at $48,408 per year. The trend line shown on this chart shows the population of those cities as they relate amongst each other, and you can see that only two peer cities have populations lower than Minneapolis, Pittsburgh and St. Paul. Although, as I mentioned, St. Paul is only included here for reference. It wasn't included in terms of the final data analysis. Denver, I also should note, is included as a peer city and is grouped here despite the fact that it is a merged or consolidated city-county government, which means that the 13 members of the Denver City Council serve concurrently as county commissioners and as city council members. So despite the greater delegated authority and scope of responsibilities in Denver, we did include the compensation for those council members, and you'll see it's slightly less than what's paid to Minneapolis council members. This slide presents the same responsive compensation data in a tabular format. As you can see, again, Minneapolis council members have a 2023 pay rate of $109,846. Again, this data has been equalized or adjusted using the ERI Geographic Assessor tool. So this is just another way to sort that data. In addition to compensation, the survey inquired about resources that are allocated in their jurisdictions to their council members. This primarily focused on ward budgets and dedicated staff. In Minneapolis, each council member is authorized to employ 2 aides to assist them in the performance of their official duties. These positions are both in the city's unclassified service. They're not subject to the civil service regulations. Both positions are politically appointed and serve at the pleasure of the appointing council member. This type of position is found in most of the peer cities, but not all. On average, a council member in the peer jurisdiction has the ability to hire 2 positions to support their work. So in this regard, Minneapolis is on par with the majority of comparable jurisdictions. Having a dedicated budget varies more widely against the surveyed cities. Approximately half of the surveyed cities provide some form of dedicated funding to support council members, though many of the peer cities simply provide a department budget rather than ward-specific budgets. Staffing and budget models can and do vary from one city to the next, as shown on this slide. Overall, Minneapolis is in alignment with the majority of the peer cities that we included in this analysis. This slide shows the majority of jurisdictions provide very similar benefit packages to its council members. Benefits tend to include pension and city-provided cell phone, This slide shows a breakdown of the type of information for the mayor. The mayor was included in this, but as noted, the mayor is in the middle of a term and thus is not eligible to be considered for any change in compensation at this time, but would be potentially eligible for a change in compensation at the end of the current term, which would be in 2025. So this slide is the final slide. It summarizes all of the responsive data that we received about council member compensation from our peer cities into a single chart. As you can see, based on that total data set, the median salary for all jurisdictions included is $81,330. That means council members in Minneapolis are compensated at approximately 135% of the identified market, or about $28,516 above the median. Over the past decade, council members have received an annual average increase of approximately 2% from an annual salary of $82,362 in 2014 to the present salary of $109,846. Based on that data as presented, staff recommends no adjustment in compensation for council members for the next two-year term in 24-25. A resolution was drafted and included in your packets that would sustain that current salary level for the body's consideration. That means, if adopted, the salary would continue to be $109,846 in both 2024 and 2025, and council would not be able to adjust that level during that term. If the Budget Committee concurs with that recommendation, then the resolution will be submitted along with all of the other budget-related materials and resolutions for final consideration and formal action as part of the entire budget packet at our adjourned meeting on Tuesday, December 5th next week, starting at 6:05. If the council determines a change in compensation is desired, then we would need that direction so that the resolution can be amended and the funding sources identified for an amendment to be prepared to bring forward next Tuesday night. That completes my presentation, Madam Chair. Representatives of our Human Resources Department are here, and together we're happy to respond to any questions the committee might have.
Thank you, Clerk Carl, for that presentation. Are there any questions? I am not seeing any, so I'll move approval of this item. Is there a second? Is there any further discussion? Not seeing any. I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville.
Aye.
Vita.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Osman.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Jenkins is absent. Chavez.
Aye.
Chugtai.
Aye.
Chowdhury.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
Cherkowski.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
That motion carries. Colleagues, the next piece of business before us today is to begin the process of considering revisions to Mayor Frye's 2024 recommended budget. Over the last several months, this committee has received a series of presentations to examine the details of each department's budget requests. This committee and the City Council have also held 2 public hearings on the budget, and we will hold a 3rd hearing next week, Tuesday, December 5th at 6:05. I want to start with an overview of the process I intend to follow for this meeting. The amendments are ordered in a packet that was sent to all council members and posted in LIMS. On Monday, there was some updates as well along the way here. I will note that a revised packet was also sent yesterday. There are 48 amendments in the packet, and we will go through these proposed amendments one by one. We will not complete, or likely will not complete, our work today before the Public Works and Infrastructure Committee convenes at 1:30. So we will need to adjourn the meeting before then. We will reconvene to complete our work at tomorrow's Budget Committee meeting scheduled for 10 a.m. if needed. We have the bulk of the day tomorrow reserved for that meeting, so we will keep working tomorrow until we have completed the amendment packet. Do any of my colleagues have questions about the process that I've outlined? Okay. With that, we'll begin with the amendment packet in front of us, and I will recognize the first author of each amendment to introduce their motion, and then we will open the floor for discussion on the amendment before taking a vote. Staff from the Budget Office is on hand to address questions that may arise during our discussions, as well as departments whose budgets are being considered for changes. The first amendment in front of me the first amendment is for me. This is a series of accounting and technical adjustments and program and capital operation budget corrections. May I have a second?
Second.
Is there any discussion? Seeing no discussion, my amendment is before us. I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville.
Aye.
Vita,
Aye.
Ellison,
Aye.
Osman,
Aye.
Goodman,
Aye.
Chavez,
Aye.
Chugtai,
Aye.
Chowdhury,
Aye.
Palmisano,
Aye.
Chairkowski.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
That motion carries. The second amendment is authored by President Jenkins, Vice President Palmisano, and myself. This is a series of amendments we are bringing forward on behalf of Mayor Fry. Is there any discussion? Not seeing any discussion to the amendment before us, and I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Payne,
Aye.
Wansley,
Aye.
Rainville,
Aye.
Vita,
Aye.
Ellison,
Aye.
Osman,
Aye.
Goodman,
Aye.
Chavez,
Aye.
Chugtai,
Aye.
Chowdhury,
Aye.
Palmisano,
Aye.
Chairkowski.
Aye.
There are 12 ayes.
That carries. Our next amendment is from Councilmember Payne. Councilmember Payne, would you please introduce your amendment?
Thank you, Chair Koski. I am moving to amend the budget. Sorry. There we go. Thank you, Chair Koski. I move to amend the recommended budget in the general fund to decrease the budget for Human Resources Department Labor Relations by $2.1 million one time and increase the budget for Neighborhood Safety Department by $2.1 million one time to develop and implement pilot programming in 2024 and deploy a safety ambassador program along the city's 7 cultural districts located along West Broadway, Central Avenue, Cedar Avenue South, Franklin Avenue East, East Lake Street, 38th Street, and Lowry Avenue North that will, depending on program design and implementation, include but not be limited to the coordination of technical assistance and the conduct of research and evaluation to inform future investments in crime prevention through environmental design and other data-driven alternatives. I can give a little bit of more detail to this and also give you a heads up that my colleagues, Councilmember Rainville and also Councilmember Chugtai, worked together to build on this amendment. And the idea here is to have an unarmed public safety presence along a number of our cultural corridors. We're going to also expand that out and the Rainville amendment to also include sections of Mill District and East Hennepin, Uptown, and Dinkytown. And the model that we are building this off of is very similar to the type of safety presence that we experience downtown with our Safety Ambassador program. That's managed by the Special Service District. We are drafting this amendment in a way that is more available to more types of organizations. So for instance, in Northeast on Central Avenue, we have the Northeast Chamber of Commerce, we have a Special Service District. We want to make money available so that either of those organizations could hold this work. They're really connected to the community. They know the types of challenges that exist on that corridor. I personally know the types of challenges that exist on that corridor, and I'll be working very closely within my ward on this. And my anticipation is that for every council member that's going to be affected by, or at least eligible for this unarmed public safety presence, they're going to have a really strong role in their connection to the community and the unique needs and challenges of each of those cultural corridors. And so I'm really excited about this. We're leveraging the one-time state safety aid. This is exactly the type of program that our state legislature intended on when they allocated this one-time investment in new alternatives. I also want to let the safety commissioner know, you were very clear with us about wanting to make sure that you weren't personally over-promising what you could deliver within your capacity. You're not going to be delivering this in your capacity alone. We are here to support you in this work. We are here to connect you with the community in this work. You were really gracious in coming out to my ward when we first met, and we went and met on Central Avenue, and we had a really great conversation. You got to meet some of the business owners. When you came out, it takes that really small one-to-one relationship building that's going to make this program successful, and I'm deeply committed to working with you to deliver on that. I know that this is going to align really closely with our Safe and Thriving Communities initiative. I'll be talking about that in a little bit later with some of my other budget amendments, but it's really going to take all of us in this institution to move forward with this new vision of public safety. It's not all on you. Institutions like this, and I'm going to speak on a very personal level, as Black men, that there's a lot of expectations on us, and oftentimes those expectations are set in a way where we can't meet them and we're going to fail. And I'm deeply committed to your success and our city's success when it comes to really transforming public safety in this city. We've been through so much. The murder of George Floyd was so heartbreaking and so traumatic for all of us. And I think we've all been transformed by that life experience. And I'm here to work through it and make sure that this is the city that the entire world looks to when it comes to what it means to keep each other safe. So I'm very excited about this budget amendment, and I hope I can get everyone's support.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Rainville?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for teeing this up, Councilmember Payne. So I do have both myself and Councilmember Chucktai, we have moved further to amend as follows. We're amending, I'm going to read the whole amendment for the record. Amending the 2024 Mayor's recommended budget in the general fund to decrease the budget for Human Resource Department. As Councilmember Payne said, this is part of that $19 million that was given us by the state, by $3 million one time, and increase the budget for the Neighborhood Safety Department by $3 million one time to develop and implement pilot programming in 2024 and deploy a safety ambassador program along the city's 7 cultural districts located along West Broadway, Central Avenue, Cedar Avenue South, Franklin Avenue East, East Lake Street, 38th Street, and Lowry Avenue North. And this is the new part here that Councilmember Chucktai and I worked on, as well as Great Street eligible sections of Uptown, Dinkytown, Mill District, and East Hennepin. That will be depending on program design and implementation, including but not limited to the coordination of technical assistance and conduct of research and evaluation to inform future investments in crime prevention through environmental design and other data-driven alternatives. And the reason I've put this forth to my colleagues is I spent a lot of time, as well as my staff, in so many departments in the city to do a non-armed public safety pilot with Warehouse Live. It was tremendously successful. 80% reduction in gunshots, 29% reduction in robberies, and it really worked, as well as a smaller pilot project I worked on the Stone Arch Bridge in Dinkytown. That was with Somali Youth Link. We had Somali elders out in the community, and while they were out there, to the credit of the Somali community, there were 0 instances of crime. The elders were respected that much. At Warehouse Live, I have to thank 21 Days of Peace with the Reverend McAfee and the Mad Dads. So those non-armed public safeties really work. And in conclusion, I just want to tell my colleagues, should you vote for this and decide to work on this in your area, and I've told you this privately, but I'm going to say it publicly, it takes a lot of work. And if you're going to do this, it is going to consume your life. I mean, ask my wife. I am not home on Friday and Saturday nights because I'm working with the Somali elders. I'm working with Mad Dads. That's what it's going to take. It's going to take a lot of work. So with that, I'm forewarning you, get ready to wear out your tennis shoes this summer. And I urge you to vote for this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Rainville. Councilmember Payne?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yeah, and in that spirit of how much work this is going to take, we also recognize this is going to add quite a bit of administrative work to the Office of Neighborhood Safety. And one of my subsequent amendments is also going to be about building capacity within that department, because we need to have the infrastructure for this to be successful. And we're, again, I think all of us on this dais are deeply committed to safety in our city and deeply committed to the success of this administration and keeping this community safe. So we're going to be doing some capacity building there as well.
Thank you. Councilmember Chucktai?
Thank you, Madam Chair. It has been a tremendous pleasure to work with Councilmember Rainville on this amendment to this motion, and also with this group of authors, Councilmember Payne, Councilmember Chavez, Councilmember Osman, and myself, on creating this vision to address urgent public safety needs that are in our communities. I think that everyone in this city is committed to making our communities more safe, to help bring visitors into our communities, to make sure that the residents that live in and along our corridors in our neighborhoods are able to go outside and walk around and patronize businesses and be in community. I have found the DID Public Safety Ambassador Program, I think everyone here would agree, to be an incredible asset in making downtown safer and feel more welcoming and bring more people into downtown Minneapolis. And I know I have really struggled over the last couple of years with making sure that Uptown, which I have the honor of representing, is prioritized. It's taken seriously. Our safety challenges that we are dealing with day to day are taken seriously. And so I'm very committed to doing the amount of work it's going to take to make sure that this money gets out into my community, that Uptown is safer, it is invested in, and it is truly offered the opportunity to bounce back. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Ellison.
It's for Councilmember Osman, who's also having technical difficulties.
Great. Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to really tell you a story that safety ambassadors have worked for my community. We have tried this, bringing OVP office in Cedar Riverside for 3 years ago, and they're still there. This community members have built relationship with youth. They have built a relationship with the folks that live in that area. They have built relationship with businesses. People celebrate them. I have taken former commissioner there. I have taken our commissioner of health department. There has been huge change. So this revision in public safety, this is why this $19 million, having a creative way of being effective in the community. Cedar Riverside has shown that hiring folks that know the community, that are, former, individuals that had challenges in the past, and now they're trying to give back to the community. They're not there just to keep the community safe. They're there to really save lives. They are, doing Narcan training. Giving the community Narcans and giving different safety, and also one of the other resources too. I know sometimes they might not have resource bags, but at least they there to talking to the young man and saying, hey, do you need a bed? You need a job? Is there expansion program that we can connect you with? So they are really the first sponsors that are talking to the youth. And this is how you address those public safety that we talk about, especially the cultural corridor. So thank you, Councilmember Payne and others, for bringing this forward. And I would definitely happy to see this move forward.
Thank you, Councilmember Hazen. Next, we have Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you, Chair Koski. I just wanted to say thank you to the co-authors for bringing this amendment and also for including Deacontown. If anyone has followed some of the dynamics around public safety in Deacontown this past year, there's been lots of requests from parents, from students, from university leaders to see programs like DID also be extended in that area to support that particular student community. So I was really excited to see this. I know Councilmember Rainville has also been involved in these conversations. So thank you all for reflecting that need in this budget amendment. I absolutely look forward to submitting it, and also just wanted to ask the co-authors if I could also be added as a co-author as well.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
All right, I will let the clerks add Councilmember Walmsley on that. Thank you so much. Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Koski. I'm super excited to be working on this budget amendment with our colleagues here on the dais. We have a good opportunity to build community safety and economic development on our cultural corridors. I'm specifically excited about East Lake Street, Franklin Avenue, and 38th Street, and the new additions of Dickingtown, Downtown, and Uptown. I think those are good programs that we're going to actually be able to deliver to our residents. I'm excited to work with the Office of Community Safety to make sure these programs are successful. And I'm super excited for the Lake Street Corridor one. I think the Lake Street Council, the Lake Street Green Partnership have been talking about this program for years, and now we have an opportunity to have good community partners to actually make these programs successful for the year to come. So I'm very excited about this amendment and happy that we're going to be voting on it.
Thank you. Council Vice President Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am pleased to see so many of my colleagues working together on this kind of a notion, and I appreciate the work that's been done in the past about Warehouse District and some of the other safety ambassadors referenced by Councilmember Osman. But I would like, from the aspect of setting realistic expectations, to maybe invite the commissioner to speak for himself and say a couple of words. So I guess if it's all right with you, Chair Koski, I'd like to invite Commissioner Barnett to talk a little bit to the realistic notions of this and the timing that it would take to implement such a thing. I am cautioned by Councilmember Rainville as to how hard something like this takes to stand up. And I just want to be clear to the public and to the residents as to when we might actually see something like this off the ground. And again, I feel positive about this, but and I'm not here to throw cold water on it, but I do just want to invite some real talk as to how we could stand such a thing up.
Absolutely. Commissioner, welcome.
Well, good morning. Chair Koski, Vice President Palmisano, other council members. I'm excited as well, so I don't want anyone to take my comments as that I'm not supportive or not excited about this idea. I do know a little bit about the work through DID from my prior employment. I was on that committee and am aware of some of the work and the long time that it's taken to get that program where it is. I'll start my comments by saying this. I am enthusiastic about the commitment that the council and the mayor has to community safety. I think you've all heard me probably say this too many times that I've talked about these 5 different departments and neighborhood safety being at that beginning of the road, that crime prevention, those alternatives to policing, and the police being at the end of that road where we're trying not to have people have that negative interaction with our police department. We're trying to reimagine how we're looking at policing. At the same time, we need to build up this other office and department of neighborhood safety. And so this is my 6th week here. And I say that to say that I've been working with our department, specifically with Director Nelson Brown, to talk about capacity, the capacity of the department. And right now, we are looking at reorganizing the department. We're looking at trying to get the department fully staffed up to a level in which we can handle the projects that are there, the services that are expected from this department. This council passed or made a decision that we could contract with NYU and Dr. Affitelli to bring forward the report of safe and thriving communities here in Minneapolis. And part of that we're having partnerships with PMI in the Office of Public Service. We're having partnerships also with HR to bring that report off the pages and into reality. And this amendment here does that as well. Setting the expectation is that I don't know that we can fully implement this amendment this year. The infrastructure in neighborhood safety is so important to be able to take on its current projects and the projects in the future. And so I'm thinking just long-term where we are. Not a bad idea, and probably aligns with everything in the report. It's just a matter of capacity and setting the expectation of where we're going to be and how do we get there. And right now, a lot of the focus that we have and a lot of the focus for Director Nelson Brown is on her infrastructure and getting that in place. So if there are any other questions, I'll stand for those.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I am not seeing any further questions for you. I am also not seeing any further council members wanting to speak to this at this time. So we do have the amendment number 3. I just want to be clear for everybody because we have a revised amendment that everybody has in front of them. And so I think the clerk, we can say that this, we have this amendment that's before us by Rainville and Chugtai. That's the one that we are voting on right now. And so I ask the clerk to call the roll.
So, Madam Chair, just to be 100% clear, so are we intending this to be one vote on the final item, or are we intending to vote once to amend and then a second to approve as amended?
As amended.
So 2 votes or 1?
I believe we can do one vote as
Fantastic. Just want to make sure we're all on the same page.
Okay.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville.
Aye.
Vita.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Osman.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Chugtai.
Aye.
Chowdhury.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
Chair Koski.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That motion carries. Our next motion is from Councilmember Payne, and I will ask Councilmember Payne to please introduce your amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This builds on the comments from our Safety Commissioner around capacity building. And I want to note that this is a corrected motion. I was originally sourcing from CPED, and in working with other colleagues, I recognized that there was some double dipping happening, so I had to go to a backup source. And so I will read this as amended. I'm making a recommendation to, or amending the 2024 mayor's recommended budget in the general fund to decrease the budget for police department property and evidence by $130,000 ongoing for 1 FTD and the mayor's office policy and operations capacity building by $29,799 ongoing, and increasing the budget for neighborhood safety department by $159,799 for 1 FTE for a senior project manager. And so what we're trying to accomplish is that capacity building that we were talking about to be able to deliver on some of these alternatives. We know that we are in a new stage of what it means to transform public safety, and we don't have it all figured out. And so that infrastructure is going to be really critical to us being able to do that. You may have pause at the source, but I just want to give a little bit more clarity. This is decreasing by 1 FTE and MPD for out of the 16 requested civilian positions that are that are not, or actually this is not part of the settlement agreement, but this is still leaving 5 open intelligence positions in MPD and moves a program manager position back into neighborhood safety. So we added quite a lot of civilian roles in MPD. I see this as still keeping that dollar for dollar investment in our public safety system through this program management role. And like I said, we're moving 1 intelligence analyst position out of MPD into the Department of Neighborhood Safety. So I'm hoping that you see this alignment and that commitment to public safety by building capacity for our Office of Neighborhood Safety and helping to make sure that our unanimously supported pilot is got the right capacity and infrastructure to be successful.
Thank you, Councilmember Payne. Is there a second to that motion?
Second.
That item has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions from council members? I see Councilmember Palmisano, or Vice President Paul.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the intent in keeping this all within the spirit of public safety. It's true that this source does give me pause, and it's perhaps because we have been working through the audit committee to do even more auditing of our property and evidence unit and working on policies and procedures improvements in that. So maybe I see some of the needs in there a little bit more closely than others. I'm curious if the author would want to speak about maybe what conversations he's had with property and evidence and assuade my concerns, because I think that this is a new proposed position that would not currently be staffed, and I'm not really sure, to be candid, what an additional person in property evidence would have otherwise been doing, but I bet you have these answers because I'm sure you were thorough about this.
Yes. Thank you, Vice President Palmisano. I worked with Chair Koski and MPD to, when they made a request for all the additional FTEs, we wanted to understand, what are their highest priorities, especially as they related to the MDHR settlement agreement and the consent decree. And we asked them to come back to us with kind of like a rank priority of what the most urgent needs were in response to some of those requirements, and what were some of the lower priority positions. And this is sourcing from this lowest priority FTE request.
All right, thank you. I am not seeing any further questions. We have the amendment offered by Councilmember Payne before us, and I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville.
Aye.
Vita.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Osman.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Chugtai.
Aye.
Chowdhury.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
Cherkasky.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That motion carries. Our next amendment is from Councilmember Chavez. Councilmember Chavez, will you please introduce your amendment?
Thank you, Chair Koski. I'm excited to bring this amendment forward with you, Councilor Koski, and you, Councilmember Chowdhury. This will allow for the rental, design, build out of this community safety center, a location where residents can file police reports, talk to public safety professionals, organize violence prevention and community safety efforts, and more. A model we can pilot and figure out where else we could build across in the city of Minneapolis for the years to come. Such a location used to exist in the Midtown Global Market for a safety center in the years prior. We have been working with on this particular proposal with the Lake Street Greenway Partnership, the Lake Street Council, and have identified potential locations on the Lake Street corridor. You all may have remembered the allocation we approved at last year's budget that allocated the first additional dollars, where some work has been done to make sure that this proposal can be successful. And now we are here today to make sure that we can get this done.
Thank you, Councilmember. That item has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions from council members? I see City Attorney is in queue.
Thank you, Chair Koski. Council members, just for the record, I just want to make clear my understanding of this amendment is that it does not fund a police station. So just to be clear, the public safety aid from the state is very, very specific that the funds cannot be used to finance the building of a police station, and that's not what this is. This is the police station will be at 2633 Minnehaha, and this other location will not be a police station.
That is correct. It is not the 3rd precinct.
Vice President Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I have a question for any of the authors, because I'm sure they've worked through this with city staff, but does the staffing required to support such a thing take away from how quickly we are working to stand up 2636 Minnehaha, meaning the actual new 3rd precinct station, or how do we reconcile that? Because I know there are not infinite city resources, is a concern that I just want to voice. Thank you.
So I'm assuming you're talking about 2633 Minnehaha, which is going to be the new 3rd precinct that is going to be developed possibly in the next year or two, depending on the build out. This is a partnership that will be used to have an interim location where folks can come in and file police reports, and also where folks can develop their public safety alternative work for the years to come. This is just similar to a substation we've had in the years prior to the Midtown Lake Street station. So I don't think that necessarily answers your question, but yeah.
I can add to that. This is additional funding for this space. I had the opportunity to go with Councilmember Chavez and look at opportunities in space along the Lake Street corridor. Like they said, we used to have this example at Midtown location. This would be above and beyond what we have at the Community Safety Center. This Community Safety Center could, and the work that we do with that, could learn from some of the things that we do at this space. But this would be above and beyond that, and hence why we want to distribute this funding for it right now. It has been something, and Councilmember Chavez, you can speak to this a little bit more, but I believe well over a year you've been working on this, and so definitely not something that hasn't been thought through and thought about. I see President Jenkins, thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know there was a substation, I think, that has been referenced relative to Lake Street, but that substation was, as was stated, a partnership with Hennepin County, MPD, other organizations, Midtown Greenway. So is that still the partnership that we are seeking? And if so, are those partners also contributing funds to this effort?
Thank you, Council President Jenkins, and thank you, Chair Koski. This is a project we have been working on for at least even before I even got on the council with the Lake Street Greenway Partnership. As you mentioned, you're part of it as well. This is similar to that project, yes, to what we used to have at the Midtown Global Market, and it's a continuous movement to reestablish such a location in this area.
So the question is, are the partners contributing resources to this effort?
I do know that the Lake Street Greenway Partnership, who we've been working on this project with, is supportive of this proposal. They have emailed, I think, all of us, and it includes a variety of different stakeholders who want to make sure this gets done. And when this does happen, I'm pretty sure that our partners are going to also be helping us with funding and stuff.
Yeah, I've been at this table for a long time, and the support never really materializes. And so that's my concern, is that the city will be continuously supporting this effort. I'm sure, as you mentioned, that the Lake Street Partnership, Greenway Partnership is supportive and would love to see this, but it does require resources, and I think Hennepin County has not committed to being a partner in this substation yet. Even though the city has already made a commitment of $25,000 to support this effort, I don't see any other of our partners coming to the table. So that's a concern.
Thank you, President Jenkins. Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Maybe I could be more helpful. Maybe not. I don't know. for many years, the partners on Lake Street, including Lewis Smith and Alina's headquarters and the Midtown Market, have been working to do a safety center. And I think this is the same thing. And I'm fairly confident that the business community there is looking for the city to lead in a more extensive way. I've heard this through my public safety, through economic development work. And so I'm not sure that Councilmember Chavez would know what they were willing to put up or not, but I have heard through the people I've worked with, and Councilmember Chavez is shaking his head, so perhaps you've also talked to Lewis Smith and others. This is the same project, correct? Okay. Then it seems to me as though this is something they've been waiting on funding for the city for a long time. And I am generally reluctant to just go along, and I'm happy to point out where I think things could be a problem, but I do think this is something that the business community in this area has been asking for quite a long time. They have very unique challenges in this location, and it seems like if we're going to be breaking up this 19 million and putting it in all sorts of different places, this would be a logical place to start this process.
Thank you, Councilmember Goodman, and appreciate your, just your insight and your historical knowledge. As you know, Councilmember Chavez and I being newer council members and jumping into this project, but yes, you're correct. We both have met with Lewis Smith. We have worked with business owners. There is a strong intent of collaboration here, and so, like you said, this has been a long time in the works here, and have been and waiting for somebody to start to roll the ball. And then at this moment in time, and when we've been given the $19 million from the state, I do believe that this is a perfect example of a project in which the city of Minneapolis can be the first to start to move that ball. All right, next we have the city attorney.
Thank you, Chair Koski, council members. Just to bang on the gavel just a little bit more, it makes me a little nervous when we talk about a substation. This is not a police substation. Just to be very, very clear for the record, we cannot use it for that purpose. That is not what this is.
Correct. Thank you. Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Koski. Just a couple quick questions. The first one is this in competition with the permanent third precinct? Like, what staff do we have staff that is going to be taken away from the long-term plan around the new third precinct? I'm just wondering, like, is there a competition for resources with this versus the permanent?
No, for my goal and what the goal of the authors isn't to be in competition with the third precinct. I think this is going to help us even make the third precinct stronger for the future. So it is not in competition with that.
Okay, so you all have identified some staff outside of the staff we're using to work on the third precinct, the rebuild, the resources we want to put into that outside of.
Yeah, we've had initial conversations of what that could look like. We have to have further conversations because we can't make, as council, we can't make those decisions of how we can make sure that staff isn't being taken away from other resources. I do know I've had conversations with third precinct crime prevention specialists who would love to just be at that location to begin with because it makes sense. Like, might as well be in the community doing the work right now. Those further conversations need to happen because the council doesn't necessarily have jurisdiction over which staff can be at that location. But this is us figuring out the funding stream and then making sure that we can make this successful. But
sounds good.
Those conversations are happening.
You've answered my question. Thank you.
Thank you. President Jenkins.
Yeah.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just have a couple of more questions. Have we identified a location? If so, where?
Yes.
And then for clarity, this is not a new idea. We had a substation at Lake and Chicago for many, many years. And every year, it was a challenge for the partners to come up with the resources to support the safety center. The safety center was destroyed in the uprising. So this is not a new idea or a new project. It's to rebuild that center, that safety center that housed crime prevention specialists. It also was a, quote, substation for MPD. That's what made the neighborhoods who supported it, Powderhorn, Central, East Phillips, or I'm sorry, Midtown Phillips neighborhood. So we're talking about this like it's a new concept, and it's not. And the challenge I have is that consistently the partners were not able to come up with the resources.
Thank you, President. Yes, Councilman Travis.
Thank you, Chair Koski. You are correct. This is something that has happened, and I know you have been a big part of making sure that this gets off the floor and running, Council President. So I do want to thank you for the work you've done before I even got on the council to make sure that this happens. I think part of today is kicking the ball down and making sure that we get this done. I do know that there are going to be partners that are committed to making sure this works. If we're the first ones to do it, I am committed to making sure we work with our private partners, our other public safety professionals, our other governmental agencies to make sure that this is successful and that everybody has a role in making sure that it's funded and here for the years to come. There are locations identified. One is at the Midtown Global Market. There's a location right there that we have toured. The other one, which I'm really excited about, is right next to a light rail station on Lake Street. And it is a location that we are currently struggling with. It's a location where you have Wellington management there every day. We have touch outreach right next to it, our violence prevention professionals there. It is next to the High Lake Shopping Center where we're also struggling. Not only would this be a benefit to folks that live in the area and in the 3rd Precinct, but it's gonna be a benefit to folks that live there too, making sure we can help support neighbors there. So there is locations that we have in mind. We want to work with administration to make sure that it is successful. But yeah, we were able to tour it. It was actually a really good opportunity. It was really exciting.
Can you say more, Councilmember, about what activities are going to take place there?
Yeah, first and foremost, it would be great to have a location there to make sure that if folks want to turn in lost items that they find. Right now, folks in the 3rd Precinct, particularly if there are lost items, they don't have a location where they can turn in those stolen items. I want to make sure folks in the 3rd Precinct have a place in the 3rd Precinct where they can turn in those stolen items. I want to have a place in the 3rd Precinct where folks can file police reports. I want to have a place in the 3rd Precinct where folks can organize our violence prevention efforts across the area in South Minneapolis. So there are other functions that we want to make sure that are successful there, but those are some of the primary functions.
Thank you.
Councilmember Ellison. Oh, Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do want to say that the community that live there, the businesses in that area, we have met them, Councilmember Chavez and I, including the McDonald owners, Taco Bell, Subway Properties, and all that area. It's been very challenging in that area. I don't know if you drive by, and they are waiting for us as leaders to do something. They want us to make the first move, and as a council members, we have a responsibility to respond to that. And I believe this it's a good step, and I'm sure that folks that I mentioned and other partners will be able to bring some solutions on the table as we move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Chavez, did you want to speak again? Okay, you're good. All right, Councilmember Payne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I also see this safety center as really complementary to the Safety Ambassador program. That would be another program that could be run out of that physical space. And I even remember going all the way back to the early days when I first joined the city on the innovation team. A lot of our body of work, really in support of what Councilmember Goodwin was talking about, we were supporting small businesses, and one of the big categories of supporting small businesses was around the neighborhood conditions along the commercial corridors and how that could be a barrier for business success. And so this has been a topic of conversation since I've been at the city in 2016, and I'm sure since before then. And I just think that one of the signals that we're really trying to share with our community right now is just the depth of commitment that this body has towards really building out this new infrastructure and these new models, and that it is going to take all of us. It is going to be extra work. We don't get to just approve a budget and then walk away and just say, hey, staff, good luck with that. We all have to have our hands on it. This is exactly what Councilmember Rainville is talking about. Our sneakers are going to get worn out because we are deeply committed to delivering on all of these ideas. And it's going to be hard, But I'm committed. I think Councilmember Chavez is committed, and I'm really excited about this opportunity.
Thank you, Councilmember Payne. So we have this amendment offered by Councilmember Chavez, myself, and Councilmember Chowdhury. I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville.
Aye.
Letaw.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Osman.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Chugtai.
Aye.
Chowdhury.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
Chair
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That motion carries. Our next amendment is from myself, so I will discuss item number 6. And actually, item number 6, I'm pulling this proposal at this time. I have been informed by administration that the Director of Neighborhood Safety is able to fulfill this deputy director role by using the department's current vacancies. It is also my understanding that a full proposal, and we heard a little bit about this from the commissioner just today, of an updated neighborhood safety department organizational development and chart will be coming before us in 2024 for approval. I fully expect to see this position in the next year, and if I do not, I will be taking action to rectify that. So we will move on to the next amendment is number 7, and I will ask Councilmember Chavez to introduce your amendment.
Thank you, Chair Koski. I'm excited to bring this amendment forward with Councilmember Chugtai, Councilmember Osman, and Councilmember Chowdhury. I know there's also interest of folks in this body to also become authors right after this. As an effort to prevent the rising hate crimes in the city of Minneapolis, this funding will be used for technical assistance and site analysis, among other things. Over the past years, we've seen mosques in my ward in particular, in Ward 6, across the city being broken into and set on fire. I know this is also the same situation for many other places of worship. We want to make sure that we are being as accessible to all the places of worship we have here in the city of Minneapolis and make sure that we can address this issue head on.
Thank you, Councilmember. Is there, we have a second. Are there any questions from council members? I do see we have Councilmember Rainville in queue. Oh. No worries. City Attorney?
Thank you, Chair Koski, council members. Just to be clear, this funding would not be limited to houses of worship. So just make that clear for the record.
Thank you. Oh, Councilmember Vita, I think, was maybe
Thank you.
trying to get in queue there.
Something's happening down here. I just had a quick question about.
Quick question. Oh, sorry. I thought I was in queue.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm
I didn't know if
sorry.
her and Rainville were, maybe I got confused over there, if he was helping her out or was
Yeah.
happening there. So,
I'm definitely in queue, though.
yep, no, absolutely. I see you here. All right, I will continue with Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a quick question about what we have authority over. I thought, my understanding was that the FBI were the only ones with authority over hate crimes. So just asking for clarity on this.
That, if you don't mind, Chair Koski.
If our city attorney or would like to speak to that?
Chair Koski, Councilmember Vital, council members, I mean, and I don't mean to speak for Councilmember Chavez, but I think the intent of this is, I mean, hate crimes are unlawful under, state law and federal law. So this is not to usurp the FBI's responsibility. This is really to, from a public safety perspective, to provide some city services, ubiquitously, houses of worship, not houses of worship, that have been targeted by hate crimes, to figure out if, we can support from a public safety perspective crime prevention, which I think does not interfere with FBI jurisdiction at all.
Thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Wansley.
Thank you. I just want to say much gratitude to the council members who brought this forward. Last year, Tofik Mosque in Suber specifically, which is in my ward, experienced a Islamophobic hate crime. And that incident actually led me to work with my colleagues and city staff to bring forward a legislative directive on how we could strengthen our responses to being more attentive towards these type of crimes in our communities. And I want to give gratitude to Civil Rights, which really took the lead on forming a multi-department team to figure out how we can do better in this area. And I see this amendment really reflective or builds upon that work. So this is, I feel, is a really great amendment. It very much aligns with existing work that we've been doing and leading on as under the leadership of Civil Rights. And, would love to ask the co-authors if I could also be added onto this amendment too.
I'm seeing some nodding heads from the co-authors here, so we will go ahead and add you as a co-author. Councilmember Choktai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I, just wanted to speak to this amendment and talk about the work that the lane that this is trying to fill. When a hate crime happens, the jurisdiction over that is not within the city and the city's police department, but the work to prevent hate crimes from happening, that we have a lot of ownership of. So over my 2 years in office now, I along with Councilmember Osman, at times Councilmember Ellison, at times Councilmember Chavez and Councilmember Wansley have been in places of worship that have been targets of hate crimes. And we know for a fact that hate crimes don't just happen in places of worship. They happen everywhere, but that places of worship are an example of a space where hate crimes are targeted, because there are people that congregate there and there's more than one person, and that poses a greater public safety risk. I'll also say though, I'm reflecting back on a few months ago, maybe it was sometime last year, when the Mercy Center, Masjid al-Rahma, was set on fire, and I remember me and Councilmember Osman and Chavez and Chief O'Hara were at the mosque as the fire was being put out, and on the phone with the FBI and with other partners around getting some resources to help kind of investigate this hate crime. And then the very next day, I had a conversation. I got a call from one of our council aides here on the third floor, who said something to me about, they had gotten off at a bus stop in Ward 10 and had seen, just some very violent and anti-Semitic language on a spray painted on the bus stop. And so those types of targeted acts that feel that pose a risk and a threat to our public safety, and the preventative things we can do to minimize the harm to marginalized people in our communities. That's what we're trying to do. That's what we're trying to get to. And I on this council too, right? Like I know Councilmember Goodman, and then then Osman, Ellison, and Chaudhry and I, we are experiencing this issue in a really, really personal way that is affecting our communities too. And we're looking ahead at the next year and wanting to invest in keeping both of our respective communities safer. And so just wanted to add that context too. I hope that helps.
Thank you. Councilmember Ellison.
It's for Osmond.
Councilmember Osmond.
Thank you so much. I wanted to say we are in a tough time where hate crime is happening everywhere in our country. And as a city, we do have a role. It's not just the FBI, but incidents that happen, the mosques that have been arsenic and burned. Our police officers were the first one to respond. Our fire investigations were the first one to respond and then identify and move that information towards higher federal agencies. And I think this resources will help our community and our communities that are dealing with hate crimes. And some of the things we can do and some of the things we have done, our police have done, is to talk to the community, have additional officers in the area during that time of, and train them and talk to them, and things like that can prevent hate crimes. And also even 911 has played a role, making it a priority to worship areas in our city for calls that come in, and that's one of the things. Those are some of the steps we can take. So hate crime is real, and I'm super happy that we're bringing this forward, and I hope that we all work together to combat hate crime in our city.
Thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury.
Thank you, Chair Koski. This is my first time speaking on the dais, so mind my nerves. I am really proud to author this amendment, both as the council member to the 12th ward that represents a multi-faith, multi-generational, multiracial ward that cares deeply about being an allyship to all community members, especially those who are struggling at this time, as in our city in our city and across the country, we're seeing a rise in both anti-Semitism and Islamophobia. And I think this amendment is very timely. As a Muslim council member and Muslim individual, I can say that I have been on the receiving end of Islamophobic hate crimes, and so have my family. During times of worship, there was a mosque in St. Paul last year off of Dale Street where my aunt and uncle worship that face arson, and there was a mosque in Minneapolis where I have prayed that faced arson, and I have taken time to talk to Muslim community members in my ward and Jewish community members in my ward, and they are thankful for this amendment, for an opportunity to access resources where they can figure out how to best protect their congregations, whether in a mosque or a synagogue. And also, I do want to note, for this council, there's a precedence for this at the municipal level. St. Paul last year in May created a similar fund that was open to houses of worship, but also community businesses and organizations to do this type of crime prevention work. And I'm really excited that Minneapolis is joining our Twin City to do this. This was something that I worked on while I was an aide for Councilmember Chavez, so I'm happy to be able to vote on it today as a council member. I'd like to thank Director Eric Hansen for taking all of my questions on it as we were thinking through this. Our city attorney's office, I'd like to thank our fire department for the work that they did in responding to our community members who experienced the arson in their places of worship, and thank all of our public safety professionals that paid attention to this issue and cared deeply about it through our Office of Community Safety. And with that, I hope that all members of this body will be joining us in supporting this really great amendment and a really timely amendment that is going to make our city a safer and kinder place to live in.
Thank you, Councilmember, and well done, well said.
Thank you.
President Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I 100% support the intent of this amendment. as a member of a very much marginalized community that experiences hate crimes, transphobia, etc., I'm wondering if those communities can be included in this. And also, I'm just trying to understand how, is this a fund that entities can come and access, or is it a program like the one we have in civil rights to combat hate crimes through education, to have a hotline for people to call? I'm just not quite sure what this fund is intended to do.
Thank you, Council President Jenkins. Part of this is working with the CPED, or the CPED department, to fund a similar program to the one that we have in St. Paul. So it's going to be in constant conversations with our Twin Cities friends in St. Paul. I mentioned hate crimes in ways of folks in my ward experiencing it through mosques being burned, but this is open. It's making sure that our LGBTQ community, a community I'm very proud to be a part of, is also being prevented from these hate crime prevention. Hate crimes that happen to our community as well. So it's open. It's not just houses of worship. It's to all communities that face hate crimes in the city of Minneapolis, and making sure we at least have a pathway now as a city to prevent that from happening. I know you've also led on this work in the past on preventing hate crimes in the city, and this is just an addition to that, and making sure that we can work with CPED and our St. Paul city to make sure that we can have more similar efforts on this.
Are there any other authors who would like to answer that question? Oh, Councilmember Chukta.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Council President, I believe the part of your question that was not answered is, how is this different from education funds, which exist in civil rights right now? So our goal here is creating a technical program fund, or in the form of technical assistance, grants, things like that. You know as well as I do that when our communities are and specifically like places where people exist, like whether it's youth centers, whether it's mosques, synagogues, any other place where, people are congregating, when those communities or when those spaces in particular are targeted by hate crimes, oftentimes when we as members and leaders of those communities go into that space, one of the first questions or one of the first things we hear those who are affected by it and those who are tending to that space tell us is, I don't have the resources to make basic adjustments to my space to make it safer. I don't have the resources to install a new security system. I don't have the resources to, add in or change this entrance in a way that makes it safer, capital things that they need. And of course, we have to find a way to get it right because, we've got public purpose and we want to make sure that we are crafting this correctly, which is why we are not as specific in this amendment itself, because there is a lot more work to do with our attorneys and with our clerks on making sure we are following the guidelines of public purpose. But that is the intent here. It's to have technical assistance so that when you are the target of a hate crime, or when you are an entity that is concerned or could be the target of a hate crime, you are supported and are able to make adjustments accordingly today.
So just as an example, an API LGBT youth center, if they were, quote, attacked, they could then apply for funds, or is it a grant opportunity?
Yep. That is a really good question. So the purpose is prevention, right? So let's take this example of a youth center that fits into that category. Let's take the example. Yeah, I'm going to actually just go off of that one example alone. The youth center and folks who are working there, who own that space, know that it is a space that could be a potential target of a hate crime, because people who carry an identity that are often victims of hate crimes frequent that space. So as a preventative method, they would be able to, the way we want to set it up is they would be able to, access these resources to prevent the bad thing from happening in the first place instead of reacting to the bad thing happening.
Okay. And then this resource would live in the CPAD department?
That is correct.
All right. I see our city
Thank you.
attorney is jumping in here to.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair Koski, council members. Just to echo exactly with what Councilmember Shugtai said on 2 points. One, yes, this is open to any sort of hate crime prevention, whether it be, again, religious hate crimes, whether it be LGBTQ hate crimes, whether it be hate crimes based on race. I mean, we can't limit it to, because of Establishment Clause reasons, we can't limit it to religious institutions, and that's why it's wide open, and it's going to be implemented in a wide open way. In terms of like what we can fund out of this, absolutely, we're going to have public purpose restrictions. The city has strict limitations on, grants are, we don't have the authority to just freely grant funds. So, the beauty of this is what you're doing is appropriating funds to a department for a purpose, and then it really is up to the department to determine, along with the city attorney's office, how can we actually, fulfill the purposes of this funding in a way that's lawful, and satisfies the purposes. So that discretion is going to be there, and we will obviously, the city attorney's office will work very closely if this passes with the department to make sure that it's implemented in a lawful way.
Thank you, city attorney, for that clarification. Very helpful. Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support this amendment. I just want to share a little bit about how hate crimes affect people. So I've had the opportunity to talk to the people I felt closest with talking about this with, which was Council Members Osman, Ellison, and Shugtai, because while I was chairing the last Biz Committee of the year, someone ripped a sign out of my yard with a Jewish star on it and destroyed it and then threw it in the street. And so I came home from work and my Jewish star was gone. And I looked at my Ring camera and I saw the hatred in the eyes of the masked person who had come up onto my property and destroyed my sign. And so that's the kind of thing that is very small in the scheme of things, right? It's not burning down a mosque or a synagogue. It's not attacking a person for being trans or black or a person of color. It's that ongoing aggression that happens on a daily basis to everybody who views themselves as part of a minority community. And this is meant to intimidate us all into fitting into a different version of normal. And so whatever we can do as a community to not allow that kind of thing to happen, we should be doing. And I also, my situation will be resolved, right? I put my sign back up this morning. But others might not feel that level of confidence. I had the opportunity to talk to Councilmember Palmisano about it, and she tells me that constituents in her ward who have these Jewish star signs don't want to put them up. They're hiding them in their garage. I don't know what to say about that other than we don't want to be a city that lives in fear for anyone. And so, of course, I communicated this to my Muslim colleagues because we can relate to each other on this topic. And what I got was a pep talk and a really great level of understanding and a group hug about how we all face these kinds of things differently. And it made me feel better, actually, to talk to them about it. And as usual, Jeremiah said he'd come to my house and protect me if I needed. That's not a secret. And he doubled down on it yesterday. But I do think that fighting hate based on what people look like, how they pray, what their religion is, how they identify themselves is not something we have a place for in the city of Minneapolis. It's just simply not. And it's something we can all agree on, and if this is a small thing that we can do because we understand it amongst each other, then so be it. We should do it. I appreciate you bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councilmember Goodman. Councilmember Rainville.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I really appreciate being up here as we all agree on how unnecessary the hatred is in our community, in the world, as well as the fact that it is here. And I just want to note to my colleagues that in the summer of 21, not that long ago, in Councilmember Payne's ward, there was a beautiful wooden Catholic church that was burned to the ground. Also that year, 2 days after I was elected, I got a call from Dar al-Quam Mosque, and they asked me to come up because they had been vandalized, and they didn't know what to do. And in both the Catholic church community and in Dar al-Quam, I saw the fear, I heard the fear, I saw the terror in the eyes, and we have to take a stand against this, so I will be voting for this today. Thank you for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councilmember Rainville, and appreciate all the comments from colleagues here so much that I believe this was moved by Councilmember Chavez, and it's obviously has been seconded. And so I am not seeing any further questions from or discussion from colleagues. And so I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville.
Aye.
Vitaw.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Osman.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Chugtai.
Aye.
Chowdhury.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
Chair Koski.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That motion carries. Our next amendment is from Councilmember Wansley. Councilmember Wansley, will you please introduce your amendment?
Yes, thank you, Chair Koski. So this amendment is related to the Office of Immigration and Refugee Affairs and specifically adding additional support. Actually, yesterday, council members received an email from our interim COO regarding the migrant crisis that really demonstrated exactly why this amendment is important. There has been a documented increase in immigrants and refugees in our city, and in response to the migrant crisis south of the border, it is unclear what numbers could look like in 2024 for our city, but currently there would be a significant value in building capacity to support these new residents. Recent media coverage has also highlighted the various barriers that many of our new residents face and the heightened level of vulnerability they face in regards to also being targeted for exploitation. So these funds will help bolster a safer ecosystem for those newly immigrated residents who are trying to figure out how to navigate this city of ours. These dollars will also specifically support the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs in responding to the growing migrant community in Minneapolis. Currently, the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs has one staff member, which severely limits their capacity to provide that necessary community support to the various needs that this particular community is experiencing. So this new FTE will support the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs in connecting those residents or new residents to various resources and other critical needs, while also allowing us to support the policy action that's going to be necessary in the coming months. So that's context behind this amendment. I would love to move it for support or answer any questions that my colleagues might have.
Thank you, Councilmember Wansley. This item has been moved and seconded. Are there any questions from council members? I see we have Councilmember Goodman in queue.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I support the spirit and intent of what Councilmember Wansley's trying to do, but I want to know what's not going to happen in the city attorney's office as a result of it, because it looks to me like we have even more work in the city attorney's office, and all that does is increase caseload amongst our existing people, and I'm worried about that as well. And you'll probably hear that from me about 6 times today, but that's one of them I'm worried about.
Thank you, Councilmember Goodman. I will ask City Attorney to please respond.
Thanks, Councilmember Koski, Councilmember Goodman, council members. What I can say broadly in terms of the budget ask for my department, I did not ask for a lot last year because I was brand new, so didn't have the ability to sort of assess our needs. But this year, I've had an entire year to see the expansion of the work that my office has taken on. As you know, litigation has become more and more complex. I'm sure you've seen in the news how many times we've gotten new lawsuits. We have court deadlines. We have to meet those court deadlines. So, it puts added stress on my litigators. These are all work assignments, so they're to some extent fungible. Litigation can be impacted. Our ability to provide legal services to this body, to all of the departments in terms of our advice and counsel. You all know that it's become more and more complex, the legal issues that have arisen. We've just talked about this in the repartee about the prior amendment. Our office works very, very closely with this council and all of the departments to make sure that everything that we do as a city is lawful. So taking an FTE away from what I've requested. I mean, I didn't request more than I thought I needed. So obviously it's going to negatively impact our ability to do all of the above.
Chair Kasi can also add to that as well.
Following up to an answer to Councilmember Goodman? Mm-hmm. Sure, yes, please.
Yeah. So definitely aware that there are several vacancies within the CAO office, and just wanting to recognize, there's clearly a significant need for this position in the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, and it seems reasonable to want to prioritize that, especially when we're looking at an office that currently only has one FTE in comparison to the CAO office that has around 200 staff members right now. So it seems in terms of priority, understand the vacancies, understand that we also have contractual support in our litigation division to meet the responsive or increased volume of litigation work that's happening, but also very clear that our Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs Department has had to do this work, substantial work with one person, and is in incredible need of these additional resources, starting with at least an additional FTE. So wanted to be cognizant of this is also a clear priority.
Thank you. Next, we have Councilmember Osman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I wanted to say that I appreciate the email from our city coordinator, Heather Johnson, but it's outdated. I think 2023 did not mention any of the how many immigrants came to our city. We have so many people that are undocumented and just trying to get the basic services they could get. Our Office of Immigration Services should have been fully staffed a long time ago, because our office in Ward 6, we get calls daily about basic services and asking, what do I do? How do I do this? We don't have all those answers. We don't. And we need someone who could guide the community members to really refer them the right places. One staff that we have right now, Michelle, who has been phenomenal for her work. It's too much capacity for her. So I am really happy that we are finally increasing the full-time staff to be able to answer some of our neighbors and some of our residents in Minneapolis who have questions that could help and change their lives. For me, the way to go resource were U.S. Senator Amy Klobuchar office or U.S. Congresswoman Ilhan Omar, who also have so many things to deal with. We have seen folks that are coming in at the City Hall and coming to my office and calling and just really trying to see who can they talk to be able to get help. There's a lot of misinformation out there, and there's a lot of fear within the non-documented immigrants. There's a lot of challenges they face, and this could help our city, a place they can come and at least get some answers or referrals for that. So I fully support it, and thank you, Councilmember Wansley and Chuck Tai for bringing this forward.
Thank you, Councilmember Payne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just wanted to put some human story picture on this. I'm currently trying to help one of my residents who's undocumented. I think they have deportation orders. They're a survivor of domestic violence, and they're living basically in squalor in the basement of a house that has multiple families in it, and I am struggling to figure out how to help them. And I actually don't know what to do. And they're just in conversations with Director Velazquez about some of our encampment issues. We heard about the stunts that Republican governors were pulling by, flying migrants to Martha's Vineyard and, doing weird troll things like that. But that wasn't a one-time stunt. They're doing busloads to Minneapolis, to Chicago, to a lot of other areas whose politics are aligned with humanity. And it is putting quite a burden on all of these jurisdictions, our jurisdiction included. And, I don't want to minimize the caseload of our attorney's office, but I do want to put the caseload of our attorneys that I greatly appreciate doing so much work in alignment with someone who has a $300 water bill, and I don't know how that's possible, and I'm going to follow up with Public Works on that, and if we have any kind of relief for this scenario. Today's the 30th. She might be getting put out, and I'm very fortunate that she has a neighbor who's a really strong advocate for her, who's trying to work with me to try to solve this problem with her that's like urgent and happening maybe in the next day. And she was asking, do shelters accept families, and can they stay there long term? And our shelter capacity is so burdened right now, and I'm trying to get her in touch with advocates at Legal Aid for renter support. There's this hodgepodge of resources that exist, but there are some really unique challenges as it relates to our undocumented community. And if we think about the caseload of our lawyers, think about the caseload of our one staff member who is responsible for the entire city when it comes to these issues. And in my ward, at least I'm lucky enough that we have neighbors that know how to contact their council member and bring these issues to our attention. How many of our undocumented neighbors don't have that kind of community advocacy, who don't know how to contact their council member, who don't have a proactive resource that's out there bringing solutions to them? And so this is urgent. This is happening tomorrow, perhaps, that somebody in my ward might be evicted, and it's cold, and they don't know what to do, and they're here with their children, and they're just trying to escape domestic violence in their home country. So I just want to put this into full context about what this amendment does and what the need is.
Thank you, Councilmember Payne. City Attorney?
Thank you, Chair Koski. I'm not trying to debate the merits of what this motion is trying to do, but just set the record straight. For the City Attorney's Office, 2024 budget request would be 121.3 FTE, which is inclusive of all attorney and non-attorney positions, including clerkships, and we actually do not have a lot of vacancies.
Thank you. Council Vice President Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate our city attorney wanting to address the impacts in our own department, but I also want to just be clear that the city has been really actively engaged, and it is more than one person. Really, the state needs to be leading some of this work, and they are. The Commissioner of Human Services is leading from the state. Rochelle King is a state employee that we work with our city, that works with our city. But we really need an effective welcoming strategy for these vulnerable populations from the state level. and it's a complicated issue. It's one I've been part of in the past. It impacts a lot of areas of our city, but I just wanted to point out what our city coordinator shared with us, even just yesterday about it, that we have a group here at the city that meets biweekly, and those are about supporting newcomers to achieve safety, dignity, opportunities in our city. And that team is larger than one. It includes representatives from the coordinator's office, the health department, IGR, emergency management, CPED, neighborhood and community relations, and the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, and the Senior Advisor for Prevention of Human Trafficking. Many of you know her. And now she's part of the Race, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging Department. So I just want to make it clear here that this is a choice, but this is one where we do have a much broader strategy going on than might otherwise be known by the conversation here. And also the city attorney's office is needed to support a lot of this work, because you get into very complex legal kinds of questions, ones that I've had and I've needed to reach out to the city attorney's office about in regards to different kinds of immigration status and what a city might be able to do with them. So thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Choktai.
Thank you, Madam President, or Madam Chair, I apologize, Madam President. I live in the Whittier neighborhood, and we affectionately call it the International Neighborhood because we are home to a historic and multi-generational Latina community, Somali and East African community, and Southeast Asian community, along with just folks from around the world that have opened businesses there and have built long-lasting roots in our neighborhood. So, my neighborhood is also home to many of our new Afghan refugees that have been resettled in Minneapolis. I think I am proud to be a part of a community that in really tough moments when people need help, we make space and we find ways to rise to the challenge and welcome new people into our community who have experienced a tremendous amount of pain and trauma in their home and have had to leave everything they know to come to our new home. I have really enjoyed working with Director Rivero, our director of the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. And from my first day at City Hall, I have been astonished that the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs is just one staff member. That's it. The director is the staff member, is the person who implements programs, is the person who coordinates meetings, is the person who coordinates community. We have multiple large immigrant communities in Minneapolis. And we are welcoming and are going to continue to welcome new immigrants and refugees from different parts of the world into our community. And we need to have people in our city who are overseeing how that work, how we are a welcoming city to immigrants, how we make sure that city services are appropriately delivered to our immigrant community. I think that I just think this is a really necessary investment. And I think we're going to need to make more in coming years. I also know that, as council members, we are very protective of our city attorney's office, and that is really important. It is important to prioritize that in our budget. I also know that we are some of us might have on our minds that we've got the settlement agreement with the state. We're looking at consent decree with the Department of Justice and wanting to make sure our city attorney's office is appropriately staffed for that. And as I was thinking about that, I pulled up the budget presentation we received at the beginning of departmental presentations time, and that there are separate resources that are a part of the settlement agreement money as well, and I think this is just a need that we really need to fill, and this is a choice that is difficult and one I think we need to make. So.
Thank you, Councilmember Chavez.
Thank you, Chair Koski. I'll keep it short. I just want to thank Councilmember Wansley, Chuck Ty, and Osman for bringing forward this amendment in the 9th Ward. I represent probably the largest undocumented community in Minneapolis. It's a community that oftentimes lives in fear, in shadows, and oftentimes is very scared of even interacting with government. And over my last 2 years here at the City Council, I've seen how OIRA, the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, only has one staffer, and they don't ask for much. And I think one thing that I want to see is have that office have expanded capacity, because we deserve to support our immigrants, our refugees, undocumented immigrants who are fearful for their life. And I'm just very excited that I have the opportunity to even vote for this amendment, and thankful for the authors of this. I ran for office because I didn't think that our federal government in particular, under Donald Trump at that moment, was doing enough to protect our residents. And I knew that the city of Minneapolis should be doing more to support our immigrants. And I knew that this body can do that work forward, and this is why I'm excited to support this. I would like to be an author if the authors are amenable to that. I think this is something that is really important that we need to do. I've had multiple residents coming to my office asking me for help on housing, asking me for help on how to access jobs, asking me for help on disputes they're having with their landlords. And most of the time, these people are undocumented, and I don't always know where to send them. We have a staff of one person that can help them out, and that is being stretched thin. And I'm just very excited that I get to vote for this today to show that we can expand this office to protect more of our immigrants that need the support. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Chowdhury.
I had a question for City Attorney, and then I wanted to just make some comments. My understanding is that this is for the litigation attorney FTE, or from the litigation attorney FTE?
Councilmember Cherkasky, Councilmember Chaudhry. No, not necessarily. I mean, this is civil litigation, civil budget, which could be litigation, it could be client services, and all of these assignments, I get to decide how to assign work. So if I don't get this FTE, then I'm going to have to figure out where the need is most. What I see right now is our litigation is exploding, so I don't see taking the FTE out of litigation. It would have to come from the client services positions that I asked for. So,
okay, just another follow-up. So how many FTEs do we currently have in client services and in litigation presently? Do you have a rough idea?
I'm not sure that I can answer that off the top of my head. I'm sorry.
But we have teams for both of those sides of it.
Yeah, yes, we have litigators, we have client services folks, but again, in my budget request, I asked for more FTEs for civil because we have exploding needs. Again, more and more litigation, more and more advising needs. Specifically, I'm trying to fund additional positions to provide assistance for counsel matters. So, I'm just going to have to figure out how to staff this stuff.
For Chair Koski, for this budget cycle, the proposal is 3 additional FTEs for City Attorney's Office.
Sorry, can you explain or repeat the question? 3?
The question is, just to confirm, is it 3 additional FTEs that's going to City Attorneys as proposed?
Yeah. Yes, I believe so.
Okay. So I have been trying to think through this amendment as well, alongside Chair Goodman, just kind of weighing different things out. And what I have come to, just trying to figure out what would be the best use of funding for this moment that we're in currently as a city, comes down to what I know in my heart to be true is we need to become a resilient city for the future. And right now, we have seen in the past few years, our state and our city has taken in new arrivals from multiple countries that were listed in the email sent from the COO's office, indicating countries from South America. We also know we have been, as a state, helping refugees from Afghanistan, supporting people, Ukraine, and the Minnesota State Demographer's Office has also indicated what's going to be really important for the success of our state in terms of just growing our workforce and taking care of our community is making sure that this is a good place for immigrants as time passes on. And it's also my understanding that the Office of Immigration and Refugee Affairs was formed in 2018. That's a very different time, and a lot of time has passed, and Michelle Rivero has done excellent work in her capacity. And I do believe that the state is trying to meet the need in this moment with their new Office of Arrivals. And they have also implemented driver's licenses for all. But having a city partner to take in all of the inundated requests that they're getting, that we're seeing, that our congressional offices are experiencing heightened level of immigration cases, the city needs to step up and be a part of that future resiliency plan. And I can speak for my ward specifically. We have a food shelf in the Minnehaha neighborhood that services families from all across the city of Minneapolis and the surrounding metro, but predominantly Minneapolis. And I visited at that food shelf one Tuesday this summer, and there were over 300 families just within hours standing outside from predominantly South American and Central American countries that had come, and that food shelf had indicated to me that they've seen that large growth just over the last 2 years, and that they're trying to keep up with the need as much as they could as a community group, and they don't turn anyone away. They also said there's a lot of services that they wish they could provide or ways to work with this immigrant community, but they don't have the resources for it. And I see this position as an opportunity for us to address that need that I know shows up throughout our city and be a part of our future resiliency plan. So at this moment, I think finding a balance between building up the resiliency that's much needed in our Office of Immigration and Refugee Affairs and making sure that our city attorney's office is set is really important. And I think we need to take a look at the fact that it's time to put an additional FTE in this office that has really needed it to meet this moment that we're in. And I think many of us can agree that we are going to see more new arrivals happen in the next few years, as that's what we've experienced in the last 2 years.
Thank you, Councilmember Chokte.
Thank you. I wanted to just chime in here and add that I think year after year, since this position was first created in our city, which is the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs is a relatively new one, dates back to I believe Councilmember Goodman can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe it was like former council members Warsami and Kano that helped create this office. And so, in each of the years that it has existed since then, I think we've always expanding the capacity of this office has always been kind of a thing that lags behind, and always kind of been a thing that can go on the chopping block. And in every conversation I've been a part of over the last 2 years about, a new FTE in the Office of Immigrant Refugee Affairs, like we all need help. Councilmember Osman and I talk about this all the time with our wards, and where the two of us share borders, especially, and not having anyone in the city who is actually able to help our residents be able to access city services. And it puts us in the position of having to be the interpreters and the service navigators ourselves. And so I think it's time for us to just add, one position to this department. And then there was something that was said earlier, and I really forgot to address it. But, Councilmember Palmisano, I believe, or Council Vice President Palmisano mentioned something about these biweekly meetings with staff from across departments that look at this issue of immigration and all work together on addressing needs in our immigrant communities. And, I just wanted to add for some clarity, and I bet Councilmember Osman could chime into this as well, but my office is invited to be a part of that space. We go and we engage in that space too, and everyone who is there has a whole job in addition to attending that one meeting, right? And everybody who's in that space this isn't their primary focus, and our office often participates in the space, and we see other staff across the enterprise who make up these biweekly meetings also mostly show up as thought partners, also mostly show up as, hey, this came up, can you help? And so, I just would caution us against misinterpreting these biweekly meetings as additional capacity on immigration work when it is, that's not really what that space is, as someone who participates in it.
Thank you. We have 2 more people in queue. I just want to give everyone a heads up that I think we should also take a break after we take this vote. So just a pre-warning here for everybody, but we have 2 more council members in queue. So Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I did not mean to start like this long, extensive discussion. So let me first start by saying,
That's good.
I wanted to speak a bit about philosophy. I work at Temple Israel on an immigrant justice committee, and we are now helping a family live on Temple's property through sanctuary as well as through housing. And I think this is a very important issue. As Jews, we are all immigrants, and I believe in this issue very deeply. What I hear my colleagues saying through listening to this debate is that there needs to be a specialist working on immigrant constituent issues. And what our current staff do is more policy oriented. What I heard Councilmember Chugdai saying was they come for like an hour, but they can't really do the constituent work. And I heard Councilmember Payne tell a story about what's happening in his ward. And I take that super seriously because I'm kind of the constituent person. So it seems to me as though we should be creating a position perhaps at the council level, maybe instead of an additional aide for the council president or vice president, that person could be focused on constituent concerns specifically in immigrant communities, because there's language barriers, there's understanding of systems issues. That makes sense to me. And I don't actually, as I met with Councilmember Wansley, who took a half an hour of her time to meet with me on all of her amendments, I don't object to her amendment, I object to the source of where it's coming from. And I feel that way about the positions coming out of human resources even more strongly, and the positions coming out of PMI. Also, I'm worried about those kinds of basic things that keep our 4,000 employees moving forward being eliminated towards things that we view as a greater good. So I don't know if the solution is just to pause this and come up with a different source. I don't hear a difference of opinion on should we do this and should it be a position that involves constituent work. I think the concern is, does it come out of the core functions of the city that are needed in order to operate? Clearly, we need to respond to litigation. Clearly, we have more litigation. We don't want to take this out of the criminal side either, but we need a constituent person focused on those that have a harder time understanding how to get through the system. This is what I've heard consistently. So where we agree is that more support is needed on constituent work in this area. Where we potentially disagree is where that should come from. I accept that I will not be on the winning side of every vote, although I've been on the winning side of all the ones today, I'll note. But I do think we could get to something that would work this out to create a win-win for the kind of position we want if we wanted to take a little bit more time to do that. And if not, I get it. I appreciate it. And I thought the conversation was a really good one. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember Goodman. Council President Jenkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And, I don't want to belabor this issue. I think, I've worked extensively with Director Rivero as well. And I know that much of our work is to really connect people to organizations that do provide that service, that we have a whole network in our city, and that's primarily the work that Director Rivero does, as well as, some of the things that Councilmember Goodman mentioned in terms of working on policy and bringing forward the kinds of policies for us to consider that will help our immigrant communities. I did just want to ask the Office of Neighborhood and Community Relations how they interact with our immigrant communities, and is that office playing a role in helping immigrants to access city and community services?
I see we have city staff coming up here. Director Moe, welcome.
Good morning. The question is, so first of all, I'll just acknowledge my name is Karen Moe. I'm Director of Neighborhood and Community Relations. Michelle Rivero, who is the Director of Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs, was not able to be here due to a family emergency, so apologies on that. Council President, your question was regarding the entire Department of Neighborhood and Community Relations and how we work with our immigrant and refugee populations. I would say that I believe our whole department works with our immigrant refugee populations. We have 3 community specialists who specifically work with our Latino immigrants and our East African community specialist and our Southeast Asian community specialist, whose responsibility really is to build relationships with those community members, understand the issues, the concerns, and the wants of those community members, and bring them into the city to make sure that all city services are centering those needs and those communities. In addition to that, we manage the Language Access Program, which is assuring that the city meets the federal regulations around accessibility of services through language access, meaning that if you don't speak English, that you should have access to any city service. And then we also house the Office of Immigrant Refugee Affairs, which is what you all are discussing right now, and that is a one-person office. I might just add, I think, Councilmember Goodman, I appreciate your question that kicked off the conversation about we are always appreciative of adding more resources to serve our communities better, but we also ask at what cost or where is those resources coming? So I appreciate that question. I would just add a couple points. I think the Office of Immigrant Refugee Affairs really was designed as a policy. I mean, we really want to look, I think, Councilmember Chavez, you mentioned that when the office was established, it was established really at a time when we were facing not just a broken immigration system, but really attacks on our immigrant and refugee populations. And so there really was the need at the local level to establish an office that would address those needs. The capacity issue that we have right now, though, is that much of our director's time is actually spent not on being able to focus on developing a strategic welcoming strategy, I would say, on behalf of the city, because so much of the time over the recent years has been spent on addressing immediate needs of new arrivals. Whether we're talking about arrivals from the Ukraine, from Afghan, or now what I think what you're most recently talking about is from the southern border and the large number of new arrivals that we're receiving on a daily basis here. And while there is work being put into organizing and working with the state, Council Vice President, you mentioned that, and other partners, that takes capacity to have a coordinated response, to engage with our state partners, to engage with our county partners, to engage with other city departments. That takes staff capacity to have those conversations. I would also say in terms of constituent response, I think another thing is we don't just want a response, we want an accurate, consistent response. And that also takes staff capacity to provide both the resident that's calling or to all of you as elected officials to make sure the information you are giving or that your staff is giving out is accurate and timely. So I think we appreciate the conversation around the capacity issues in our office. That office is over capacity, and with that, we do have to make decisions about where the limited capacity is able to spend time. Some of the things that have been at risk is the more comprehensive welcoming strategy of the city and the ability to work more effectively with some of our partners.
Thank you, Director. Appreciate it.
Thank you,
so
Director Moe. And I do appreciate your response. And I just wanted to really just kind of highlight and I guess emphasize that while the Office of Immigrant Affairs is one person, certainly overcommitted, I'm 100% clear about that, but it is not the only response, because it seems like we're talking about multiple things, constituent issues, then how do we address these asylum seekers that are coming, which are completely different issues. And so do appreciate your response. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Council President. All right, we have the amendment offered by Council Members Wansley, Chugtai, Osman, and Chavez before us, and I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville.
Aye.
Vitaw.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Osman.
Aye.
Goodman.
No.
Jenkins.
Abstain.
Chavez.
Aye.
Chugtai.
Aye.
Chowdhury.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
Cherkowski.
Aye.
There are 11 ayes, 1 nay, and 1 abstention.
That motion carries. Before we move on to the next amendments, we will take a 5-minute recess. Sorry, just trying to get my lingo down here. 5-minute recess, so I will see everybody back here at 12:16. We will start. Thank you. Hello, everybody. Welcome back. All right, welcome back. We are on item number 9. But before we go into the next amendment, I just want to make a quick announcement. I will do this again.
Ellison labeled them wrong. so
You guys are on
yeah, it says
speaker over
38.
there, Mr. Clerk, there. Okay. Before we move forward, I just want to let everybody know that we will go until 1 o'clock today here at this moment. We then have our Public Works and Infrastructure at 1:30. We will then resume back for the budget and come back at 2:30, and we will work until 4:30. If we don't get through everything, which I'm seeing here, since we're on number 9, and up to 48 there, we will be coming back again tomorrow. So to be clear, we're going to finish here at 1 o'clock, but then come back at 2:30. I will announce this again. All right, so we are on our next amendment, item number 9. This is from Councilmember Vita. So I ask Councilmember Vita to please introduce your amendment.
Thank you, Chair Koski. This amendment is for a fire interagency coordinator. This is a position that I actually thought existed already within the Minneapolis Fire Department, and it had previously, but it's been taken out. And so I'm looking for support on bringing this position back. I will say that Councilmember Chavez, Chucktie, and Ellison have worked really hard, especially Councilmember Chucktie, have worked really hard with me to find a different source for this position to come from. We all agree that it's very necessary for the community to have access to this position and for our really wonderful fire chief who won't ask for anything to get this position back in his department. And so we do have an amendment, a substitute motion that is going to come from Council members Ellison and myself, and that is to decrease the budget from the Human Resources Department, the Labor Relations, so the public safety dollars, for $356,196 ongoing for one-time and temporary. So this would be 3 years for this position. And we're all committed to making sure that this is a permanent position in our future budgets. So right now, it would just be, it will be funded for 3 years out of the state's public safety dollars.
Thank you. Councilmember, I see we have Councilmember Payne. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair Koski. I absolutely support this amendment, and thank you, Councilmember Vita. It was gonna be a very, very big struggle to support this amendment if it was with the original source, but your change to the source was really good. I see that Councilmember Ellison is in queue to kind of speak to that, but definitely appreciate you being amenable to changing that source up.
Thank you, Councilmember Payne, or thank you, Councilmember Payne. Councilmember Ellison.
It does look like the clerks have a priority motion.
Apologies there.
Madam Chair, just in case there's any confusion, the substitute motions that came from Councilmember Ellison, number 9 and 38 got mixed up. So some of you may have number 9 labeled as 38 and 38 labeled as number 9. So just wanted to clarify that because I saw some confused faces.
Thank you so much for that. I just want to make sure everybody has the right one. Maybe if Councilmember Ellison, can you just hold it up, or Councilmember Vita, so we can see? I think there's some highlight.
Well, we just, I think for clarity, number 38 is actually number 39. The clerks have written on the amended version 38, but it's really the amendment number 9. So it's got a lot of highlighting on it.
Great.
There we go.
Perfect. Thank you so much for holding that up. All right, Councilmember Ellison.
Yes.
Just was going to make the substitute motion, but it sounds like my colleague already made it, and so I think we can move this as amended. Just wanted to thank Councilmember Vita for working on this really important position, and yeah, obviously we want to make sure that we are, that we're for being amenable to this change.
Thank you, President Dinkins.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to clarify that we're not sourcing our labor relations from human resources, but rather the public safety dollars from the state. Is that
is correct?
Accurate? All right, thank you.
Thank you. Councilmember Chowdhury?
So I'll keep my remarks short. I just wanted to thank and applaud Councilmember Vita for bringing this forward. I feel like this is, again, another really timely amendment and a really good usage of our public safety aid. One of the top concerns that I heard from residents in my community is supporting the capacity of our fire department and the hardworking staff there, and I'm looking forward to what we can build off of from this moment. So thank you for your work on this.
Thank you, Councilmember. Councilmember Chugtai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I've just also wanted to echo that really appreciate Councilmember Vita for identifying this this need in our fire department for an interagency coordinator that I think is really, really important right now. I know we have one of our assistant chiefs who effectively fills that capacity in that role, and this is one of our critical emergency response departments, and it needs this resource. I'm glad that we are using the public safety aid, and I just wanted to clarify in our amendments, anytime you're seeing the Human Resources Department, Labor Relations, that is where public safety aid is living right now. And so it is in reference to public safety aid, and it looks like it's coming out of Human Resources. It looks like it's coming out of Labor Relations, but it is actually the $19 million in public safety aid, because that's where it was placed. Excited about using this source and glad that we were able to find a way to make it work. Councilmember Vita, it's been a real joy to work with you this last day or so in figuring this out. Thank you.
Thank you. Council Vice President?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just curious if the chief, I don't want to belabor this, but I was wondering if the chief wanted to say a few words about how we might use this position. I'm supportive of this position, but what are some of the things that we could look forward to with it in place? And maybe that's going back to things that had been done in the past, or maybe that's new things that you have to implement your vision, sir.
Thank you. So
Welcome,
through the
Chief.
chair to Vice President Palmisano. I envision this position as a person that can connect the fire department to other agencies and other levels of government to make sure that we're connected to all of the resources and things that we may be able to have access to, and to make sure that we are able to work cooperatively with other agencies. In the past, when we had this position, they did a little bit of that and a lot of kind of program management. I think I want to kind of flip that over where it's really a lot more, I don't want to call it lobbying, but really keeping us connected to the other levels of government that we work with on a regular basis.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. All right, this item has been moved and seconded. I am not seeing any further discussion from colleagues, and so I will ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Payne.
Aye.
Wansley.
Aye.
Rainville.
Aye.
Vita.
Aye.
Ellison.
Aye.
Osman.
Aye.
Goodman.
Aye.
Jenkins.
Aye.
Chavez.
Aye.
Chugtai.
Aye.
Chowdhury.
Aye.
Palmisano.
Aye.
Chair Koski.
Aye.
There are 13 ayes.
That motion carries. Our next two amendments are from myself, and so I will introduce them. And I'd like to move approval of item number 10, the Program Manager Domestic Violence Navigators, and number 11, Domestic Violence Navigators together, and discuss them together. These proposals will create and fund a domestic violence navigators program that will provide support and services to domestic violence survivors, and will expand the program by 3 FTEs in 2024. Since I came into office, I've heard from residents, survivors, domestic violence resource organizations, MPD, and victim advocates that our city's domestic violence response and early intervention to support victims is in dire need of improvement. I've been working with the former and current Director of Neighborhood Safety Department and the current Domestic Violence Navigator to develop this proposal over the last year. The Director has prepared job postings for both the Program Manager and the Domestic Violence Navigators already. Domestic violence can happen to anyone. It can happen to any race, age, sexual orientation, religion, or gender. It can occur within a range of relationships, including couples who are married, living together, or dating, and it affects people of all socioeconomic backgrounds and education levels. According to the National Coalition Against Domestic Violence, in Minnesota, 1 in 3 women and 1 in 4 men will experience or have already experienced domestic violence in their lifetimes. And on a typical day, local domestic violence hotlines receive approximately 19,159 calls. That's approximately 13 calls every minute. The city of Minneapolis currently has 1 domestic violence navigator. They are the sole city staff member in the entire enterprise tasked with supporting and servicing domestic violence survivors. And I want to pause right now and say how unbelievably grateful I am for their work. As of November 1st this year, they have made 710 contacts with domestic violence survivors. They filed 103 protection orders, 80 other court-related documents, and have attended 12 court hearings. Domestic violence can be a number of crimes: stalking, harassment, assault, restraint, false imprisonment, kidnapping, threats, coercion, trespassing, burglary, robbery, sexual assault, and rape. One of those crimes is domestic aggravated assault. In the city of Minneapolis this year to date, there have been 2,662 aggravated assaults reported, 871 domestic aggravated assaults reported, which means domestic violence accounts for 33% of aggravated assaults in this city. I can only imagine how much domestic violence accounts for the other crimes in this city. The city of Minneapolis's domestic violence response has been the subject of studies, analysis, and audits. Earlier this year, Global Rights for Women and the Minneapolis Foundation published an institutional analysis of the city's response to domestic violence. It concluded that we systemically fail domestic violence survivors. The need is abundantly clear, and I ask my colleagues to vote in support of these proposals. I see we have a few other council members in queue. This item has been moved and is seconded. I will call on Councilmember Chuktai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will formally second the motion. I'm really excited and really proud to co-author these 2 amendments together with you, Councilmember Koski. I think, as many of you here know, I am one of 3 women in this country who has survived domestic violence. I can speak from personal experience on how important this work is and how deeply and consistently and painfully we fail domestic violence survivors and victims in this country, in this state, in this city. I remember one of the most life-changing conversations I had was with a domestic violence navigator who saved my life. And she, we're sitting at the end of a meeting, or I can't exactly remember where we were, but she's telling me about how she was going to leave, and at the end of the night, and when she was going to go home, she was going to stop at Taco Bell or Taco John's and grab dinner. And she mentioned, this item there costs like $1.38, and I don't. And it was early in the week, and she was like, "Well, I don't get paid until next week, and I don't have enough money to buy food." And I think I remember being surprised by that and asked her some questions about it, and she was like, "Yeah, I make $8.25 an hour." This was in 2015. A person who is tasked with saving people's lives in literal and figurative ways, but really in supporting people who are going through some of the worst times in their lives, to get themselves back up on their feet, to get themselves out of harm's way, making $8.25 an hour. And it is one of the ways in which we structurally and systemically fail people who are experiencing or have survived domestic violence. there's data around the country that talks about how 1 in 4 victims of gun violence in this country are domestic violence related, and in the city we have the ability to meaningfully invest in this work and meaningfully understand the connection between gun violence and aggravated assault and other forms of serious violence to domestic violence, and that care for survivors is a part of how we address our public safety challenges, and that investing in this work is deeply meaningful and it is necessary. It is life-changing. It is life-saving. It is life-affirming. And so wanted to share that and ground it in ground our discussion here today, hopefully in the work we are trying to do and the ways in which this amendment really seeks to holistically understand how we intervene in and care for our residents who are experiencing horrific acts of violence.
Thank you, Councilmember Goodman.
Thank you, Chair Koski. Are you worried about what I'm going to say?
I am not worried. I know we're going to be inspired, I believe, and we will always learn something. So,
although I don't love the sources being used for this, I am definitely going to vote for this because I know more than most how important this work is in the city. And I want to share with you that on Thanksgiving morning, I had the opportunity to deliver pies to police precincts and 911. And when I asked 911, what are people calling about today? They said, we get more domestics on this day than except all of the other major holidays. And it weighs very heavily on 911 operators that on holidays where they're working, the single biggest call-in reason to 911 is families who have conflict and need to use law enforcement in order to solve that conflict. For years, the Domestic Abuse Project and Tubman, council members Colvin Roy and Palmisano have worked in the past to try to really beef up our work in this area. And this, I think, is really needed at this time as we lean into alternatives to law enforcement, trying to get at issues why people physically and emotionally fight with people that they choose as their families, resulting in law enforcement having to come out and take sides, is just a really intense thing for everybody involved. And so I think this stands on the steps of the council members before Koski and Chugtai, including Palmisano and Colvin-Roy, who made this a big part of their work in this area, that we would actually resource this in a way that would potentially prevent these kinds of calls to 911 on Thanksgiving morning, and prevent police from having to go out and intervene in someone's very personal situation, because those are the calls that actually result in violence between officers and families the most. This is a very complicated issue, and I'm very challenged because of the source, but after watching 911 operators take domestic violence calls on Thanksgiving morning and hearing police officers talk about how those are the most volatile calls they answer, solving this problem on the front end is critically important. I commend you, Councilmember Koski. I'm like I said, I'm not thrilled about the source, but I think in this particular situation, these are positions that are needed to save money for police, law enforcement, and everyone else down the road while trying to get better outcomes for people with their blood or chosen families.
Thank you, Councilmember. Council Vice President Palmisano.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I can't take any credit for the work I've done in this space without also mentioning people that have been part of our city in the past, like Susan Siegel and Assistant Chief Kristen Arneson, and Mary Ellen Hang and so many others. But I think, and Council President Jenkins, this is a real need. The source here is pretty problematic, and I do wonder maybe why we haven't structured this from public safety aid money, similar to the interagency coordinator position. It feels more appropriate that way. It's important to know that domestic violence, and this is part of my experience with the Domestic Abuse Project, can be healed. And it's really important to go in with that mindset. And in addition to when things get to a point of law enforcement needing to be called out to someone's home, we also need our city attorney's office resources to be robust because they play such a big role in helping to effectuate consequence and change and ultimately transformation in these kinds of situations. Not all of them, obviously, but in so many of them. So I am supportive of this work. I can't not be, but I do wonder why we haven't been able to use some other kinds of sources for this, because this is taking away from some of the real basic needs of our city as well.
I am just going to jump in here quick about the source and using the public safety funding. The public safety funding is one-time funding. I am asking for ongoing FTEs. I think Councilmember Goodman said it the best. This is not something that we want to commit to for just 1 year. And so I am, and I will listen to and consider support for amendment changes or a source that is ongoing. I am open to that, but I ask that anybody who is requesting that you identify a preferred source for this. Councilmember Payne.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I actually got in queue to speak on the source, at least on the PMI side. Councilmember Chugtai and Chair Coxey have both been talking about this for quite some time, and they actually reached out to me to talk about PMI and what my perspective was on using that as a source. And I just want to give a little bit of history and background on that team. It's how I started at the city. I came into city government by way of being a contractor on the innovation team. At that time, it was a grant-funded team through Bloomberg Philanthropies, and we used design thinking and human-centered design methodology around policy development. And it's had quite a rocky road as a function in our city. When I first started on the team, it was year 3 of a 3-year contract or a 3-year grant, and it had been so dysfunctional up to that point that none of the money had been spent down. It was under the leadership of Director Brian Smith that I was brought in. He was able to staff that team up. And we were actually able to get a footing under ourselves to actually develop our behavioral crisis response. And we did that work with myself as a contractor, Gina Obiri as a program manager, Taylor Crouch Dodson as a program manager, and Chikamwana Onyuke as an analyst. We also had Jonathan Williams Kinzel on that team running our performance management component. And we were able to get a mighty amount of work done with a very small crew. And we were doing it under less supportive circumstances at that time. And so when we're thinking about, and I'm sourcing also from PMI in the future, when we're thinking about the workload of that team, I just want to remind folks that a full framework was developed for performance management with, at any given time, about 4 full-time staff. We developed an entire new alternative response, one of our most successful alternative responses. The work of that was largely held by myself, Moanya, Gina, and Taylor. And we are now in a rebuilding stage of that team. We have our director in the room, and it sounds like maybe one of those openings has been filled, maybe a couple others. But there's going to take a lot of work to rebuild that team, and we're not going to get to the full capacity of that team in one budget year. And when Chair Koski and Councilmember Chugtai came to me and they asked, what would this jeopardize the work of that team? I said emphatically, no. This is supporting domestic violence survivors is critically important. And rebuilding PMI is also critically important. And we're going to be able to do it at the same time. We're going to start with rebuilding the performance management framework, and then we can layer on the human-centered design and the innovation components. And I just always want to remind everybody, I personally was the human-centered design and innovation component of that team. Once I ran for city council, the team they were able to backfill another contractor position. That person is no longer with the team. And so I'm very committed to helping to rebuild that capacity as we move forward. And I think that this is a really good source for this very important work.
Thank you, Councilmember. Council President Jenkins.
Thank you, Chair Koski. I mean, this work is so incredibly painful. I, too, am a survivor of domestic violence. My family, growing up in a abusive household, and yet I'm just concerned about, PMI is set up to try to help us reimagine public safety, which is the work that we have all said we are committed to doing. Human resources, if we take funds from human resource, how do we hire the people that we want to hire? It's mind-boggling to me. That's all.
Thank you, President Jenkins. Councilmember Vita.
Thank you, Chair Koski. I just have some concerns. My biggest concern is the source that this is coming from, and I would like to offer to the two authors that you all create a similar pathway as Councilmember Chugtai helped me with the interagency position for the fire department. Maybe start out with a few years from the public safety dollars. It's what I feel like it should come from. So maybe pull some money from that, 19 million from the state, and create these positions for a few years. Mine is 3 years for that position, and then that gives us some work to do to figure out how we permanently fund these positions. I am super excited about the work that Kira has presented to us in PMI. And I think, I didn't even see Kira there. Kira probably should come up and maybe speak to some of these positions. I don't want to lose these positions. I really want us to be able to figure out how we get this work done in PMI. I've been excited about Dr. Alteli's work and all these things we've talked about around public safety. President Jenkins said it best. This is what we've been talking about. This is what we want to do. So maybe this is an opportunity for us to revisit the source, look at the public safety dollars, and then still have the ability for PMI to operate in its capacity moving forward, the projected capacity moving forward. I think we really need all of these resources to happen in the city. I guess I would like for Kira to come and explain to us if these positions were taken out of the department, what that looks like.
Thank you. Yes, welcome. I know you did do an extensive memo as well and gave us a thorough, so feel free to give information that you feel will be most relevant to her question.
Certainly. Chair Kowski, Councilmember Vita, thank you. I would like to just ask if you're fine with me. Councilmember Payne did reference the other proposal that it was presented to you today, and so I think for the purpose of this, if you're open to it, I'd like to speak about the two together because I think that provides what the cumulative impact of what the two proposals would be doing to PMI to help you all make a decision on what that looks like. I think my focus is what can PMI provide. I 100% agree with all the comments that we've heard, that it is not right that one program is more important than the other, but it is what this decision will do to the ability of performance management innovation to move forward. So again, looking at the two scenarios at a whole, the first is taking one program manager to help build the domestic violence navigator program. The other program, which was mentioned earlier, the proposal, is to take the deputy director, a program manager, and 2 analysts. So that represents a 55% decrease in the level of staff. That brings us to 4 FTEs. And no, we are not going to be able to provide a comprehensive services based on the portfolio of things that I outlined to you all, looking specifically at research, performance management, community engagement, and resilience and innovation. Looking back, like you mentioned, what has that looked like historically? So again, I've been in this role for 12 weeks. I have been at the city, and I think we've seen how, we talked in my budget presentation about how the department has scaled up. What has that looked like? On a whole, 4 FTEs of a director, 1 program manager, and 2 analysts get you results Minneapolis. So those are the services that we would provide. We may be able to do 1 or 2 innovation projects. Again, Jonathan, who was on the team, there were some other, at that point, IT members who worked on very small scale projects. Well, one project that may have been large in scale. I went over those in my budget presentation, small business team, some of those programs that took a year. We've talked about innovation takes time, regardless of who's gonna do it. It's researching, it's looking at what may work, it's helping to set up those pilots, it's setting the metrics, it's supporting the departments to implement, launch, and then evaluate the programs. So historically, again, I presented this in my budget presentation, the team has moved, and this year I think, Councilmember Payne, which you mentioned, 9 has been the total projects that the team has moved in a year, and that is when it had about 3 or 4 program managers and an intern as an analyst. So that is sort of what that looks like. Across the board. But again, looking at what we would be able to do with 1 program manager and 2 analysts, it will be results Minneapolis and potentially 1 or 2 innovation projects.
Thank you for that answer. I just hope my colleagues and I can figure out a different source for this so we can continue to do the work, the exciting work of PMI. Kira, I've told you this before, you give me so much hope.
Oh,
thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Director. All right, let's see, Councilmember Choktai.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to talk about why we chose this source, and I'm sure probably at the end of discussion from other members, Chair Koski might also weigh in a little bit more and and catch anything I may have missed in what I will share here. First, to address the question of why not use public safety aid and fund this for a year or a few years using that source as we are in other places in our budget. Nearly every position, and I may be incorrect about this, but every position that we are using public safety aid to fund what probably will become a temporary FTE, that position that we are funding does not currently exist in the department, right? That function is carried out by other people in that department. Their capacity is extended beyond what is reasonable. And so we're not creating new functions of work, but we are creating a defined role that takes on work that other people are doing on top of their existing jobs. What is different about these positions is we have a domestic violence navigator in our city right now. That person does work in our city right now and took on, like Councilmember Koski said, 710, I apologize, cases this year. And these cases are not like I called the person back. They're like, I have to work with this person over a period of time, and that takes time. It takes energy. It also takes emotional capacity because this work is so difficult, and like an amount of rigor and follow through that is really important too. And I think we need to make sure that this position is set up for success. And the one person that is doing this job and will echo what Councilmember Koski said in her opening remarks, tremendously grateful to them for their work, tremendously grateful to them for their work. And they are extended beyond capacity. And we need the need we have that one person is filling right now is like the need is dramatically outweighing what we are able to do with the one person who's extending themselves. So that is a part of why we don't want to fund this for a few years, but fund it permanently. I also will add, Councilmember Vita and I were trying to find a way to have a permanent source, a permanent FTE for this position, and that didn't end up working out. But that was the first thing we looked to as we were looking at sources for these two amendments. A part of why PMI is a department that made sense to take an FTE from is because, one, it has an incredibly high vacancy rate, an 88% vacancy rate right now. It is the highest it is one of the highest of a department in the city, and because not only does it have a really high vacancy rate, it also has a really high turnover rate. Just in the last year alone, we can look back and see how many people who were in positions in the department have kind of transitioned out of their previous roles. So, like, I think it's the combination of the positions that we are funding and the work that we are funding exists, is codified, is defined, and there is a person who is currently doing it that is unable to meet the need no matter how much they are stretching themselves, and that this is work that's really important, and this was a source that made sense, and I think holding both of those things is really important. I will also add, though, that I think it was said that PMI's role in during discussion, and I can't recall if I may have misheard, but in case I didn't, that PMI's role in our city is helping us, reimagine public safety, helping us implement the Safe and Thriving Communities report, things like that. And I just want to clarify, like, that isn't their role in our city. Their role is a little bit different than that, and the work of helping us reimagine public safety and helping us implement the Safe and Thriving Communities report lives in the Office of Community Safety. It is implemented by the Office of Community Safety. Performance Management and Innovation does not report to the Office of Community Safety. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilmember. We have several more council members in queue here. It is also 1:02, and I know we did promise the clerks that they could have time before we have our public works, so I would like to pause this conversation. I appreciate the robust conversation around all of this, and so I would like, with no objection, I would like to adjourn today's meeting here until 2:30 this afternoon. My apologies, Councilmember Goodman. When we were on break, we went around to several people, and many, and I apologize it didn't get to you, but I'm happy to look around if I thought that we had we were going to have quorum at 2:30 to finish this again, and we were going to go from 2:30 to 4:30 today. So I am looking around at colleagues. I see nodding of a head. I see yes. I see, are we good
Madam
here?
Chair?
Do we have a 7 of us?
I'm looking at the schedule tomorrow. It says we're meeting 10 to 4, so wouldn't that be enough time to?
Well, I am also looking at that we are only on number 10 and 11 here. And so we have 48 of them to go, and I am just trying to make sure that we continued as much as we can to get through. And so many, and I thought I had quorum, and thought I had 7, so I'm going to do a little, if everybody can give me a hands up that you're okay coming back. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got quorum for coming back today at 2:30. So I'm going to adjourn this meeting until 2:30 today, and we will be back to discuss item number 10 and 11. So thank you very much.
So we need to take all of our stuff out.